All right. Should we break the decks down?
I don't even want to.
Yeah.
It is like I think this card is not very good.
Okay.
The Brennan card.
Well, so talk to me about lay the deck out, talk about the deck, and then we'll talk about mine. And I had no idea what you were playing this week, so don't, for anybody that thought that I was maybe building to play you, I did not do that.
Well, I think this deck is bad. Like, I mean, my only real defense against anything was Swallow.
Sure.
And it's only good against big guys. It's not good against wide guys.
Right.
Same with Doll. Like, this card is... I mean, I guess this card is better against wide guys because it can kind of, like, swing damage around, but...
Right.
I probably wouldn't play this card. I, played my one Ceremonial Dice just to play this card, and it was not worth it.
Right.
Then I had... I mean, Owl's obviously good. This card seemed very bad. Like these random give your opponent a choice card are just not good.
Sure. I mean we talk about that kind of constantly in other card games as well.
I also had this like open memories, like kind of Swiss Army knife stuff because this is like demonic tutor. But in this game, since it costs like 20% of your turn and an action to like do it, it's not like demonic tutor.
Right.
So I had like a 1 of Seal that was actually good the one time I played it.
Seal was really
good. 1
good.
of Transfer that was mediocre. I had a 1 of this thing that I never played.
Reflections in the Water.
Yeah.
I looked at that card when I was looking at building decks, and I was trying to figure out how
that... 1 of Strange Copy. Again, very good against big creatures, but not against small ones.
Yeah. I like Strange Copy a lot.
It's okay. I mean, so the things that I would say that were cool are Owl is obviously very good.
Yes.
It was like a very value play.
Right.
Because even when it didn't fight your guys, you still like spent attack into it and it made you discard.
Correct.
Glowfinch is very powerful, though I know its text is changing. That was one of the cards on the list. But like Leo seemed like a fine dude.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I like the Glowfinch. It really forced me like to kind of get off plan because I couldn't just point damage directly at your Phoenixborn or directly at your units. In game 2, I took your advice and went more after your units.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it really would have mattered that much.
Right. I mean, I just had no way to beat 2/2/1s.
Right.
Which is probably one thing to say if this deck's very bad if you can't beat 2/2/1s.
Yeah. So one of the things we were looking at is how, like, we talked about this, like how to create 2-for-1s, and that was what I was sort of in my head about after we talked last week.
Your deck is full of value.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Widows is not a 2-for-1, right? Like it is a 2-for-2.
Sure.
But it's a tempo play because you get to play it like out of the normal range of doing stuff. But the more random, like Chant and Brennan and like Salamander guy, like the more like when this thing dies or when this thing comes into play value cards you have, the more you turn it into like positive card advantage for yourself.
Right.
And when I built this deck, you know, like I said, I came over at 6 o'clock and we were supposed to start at 6:30, and I'm like, well, I got to spend 10 minutes playing with the dog, and then I came downstairs and built this deck, and I was like, I know people like to play Leo with owls, and that sounds fun to me. And then I like looked at the charm cards, and I still just like don't want to play any of the charm cards. But if you're like being able to summon more than one owl in a turn is really hard. If you want to do anything else with your charm dice,
right?
So I think I should have been more like 7 and 3 and not played the living dolls. Just to get like to where I could summon 2 owls and a swallow in the same turn. Right. Because it uses so many hearts.
Yeah, they are expensive. Kronos mentioned that on our video last week. Beyond the cheating Majestic Titan, he's like, Swallow is not as valuable as it looks like because it's so expensive in terms of dice requirement for it, for what you get out of it. Right. And so I don't disagree with him. I still think it has to be one of the best, like, board stalling units in the game.
So like when I was playing against you and you had it last week, I thought it seemed good, and then every time I had one it seemed so bad because all it does is encourage us not to do anything.
Right.
Because you're never going to attack because I'm going to block with this.
Right.
And I'm never going to attack with this because you can block with your Phoenixborn and take 1.
Right.
So it's like our options are, you don't attack, and I just like take 1 a bunch or whatever.
Right.
Like it becomes very dumb. In the new rules where you can't like this card's getting changed. This is one of the ones on the list.
Correct.
Because if you can only block with your Phoenixborn once, then this thing becomes a real threat. Where like, if you have more than 1 of these or more than 1 guy that the Leo wants to block,
right,
like it gets in there and kills stuff. But it's going to have different wording, so I don't know if it does that anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't have the Death Strike anymore. It's got some different. It definitely has some different abilities. But I can see why they've changed Anchornaut and Fire Archers to targeting Phoenixborns, because they just have to be the best value.
Right, they're broken.
Yeah,
they're so good.
They're so good.
Like I stood no chance of winning this game because like I couldn't trade any of my guys with your guys, and also you could trade all of your guys without attacking with my guys.
Right.
Like,
and that was the theme of the deck. I was like, can I just kill without actually ever needing to enter combat? And I did both, right? Like in this matchup, I did both.
Ultimately, like those cards are like I think if you're throwing your chance at the face and there's any other target, I think you're doing it wrong. Like I think you get so much value just by like, oh, 2 of my guys died over the course of this turn, and I killed 1 of your men, like just 0 for 1.
Right.
I mean, it's not literally 0 for 1 because you only get to fire those off so many times, but like you want to be using them, so I don't know. They seem really good. I've tried to play them in a lot of decks, but
yep. So then it was like, okay, well, how do I make sure that I get? I was going, okay, well, Brennan's only going to give me 3 activations of his abilities, so I just assumed the games are going to be done in 3 rounds.
Right. This one went 4, but it didn't matter because I had no pressure.
Right.
Like.
So okay, so let's. I mean, if you want to lay it out, I think we should. That way, if somebody wants to try to tweak off of your deck, they can. I think that deck is probably really good against tempo decks that I've been playing over the last few weeks.
I think this deck is very bad against everything. The way that it played out, it just felt like I couldn't do any of the things I wanted to do. And I had 6 cards that I literally will never play again.
Okay. Well,
so
we won't be putting a Neil deck tech up this week, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I mean I'll lay it out. You guys can see the crap that I played, but I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. If you want to play Leo Owls, I'm sure there are many better lists you can find on the internet because it was very popular for a while.
Well, it won Gen Con.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, you were definitely on an archetype that was very powerful, even if our list was not better than that.
I think this card sucks.
Okay.
And please, internet, tell me if I'm wrong, if I just did it wrong, but it seemed very bad, like anything that gives you.
He's referring to Anguish, just in case somebody can't tell on screen.
Yeah, Anguish, and same goes for Memory Theft.
So I think one of the best cards you have to be playing is Sympathy Pain in Charm. Like, this is a game where you win by damage, so just the fact that your Phoenixborn is going to get attacked normally and you can just deal 3 damage back seems really reasonable in the deck. I would be considering that when I play Charm. I want to play Sympathy Pain. At least in 1.0. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2.0. I'd have to go back and look, but I think that's I think that's a reasonably solid Charm card. This card seemed bonkers good.
I think that card's playable. I mean, so I was playing this Demonic Tutor thing, the Open Memories. Right. So it was easy to play little things that are this card is a blowout when it's a blowout, and the rest of the time it's a 0. It's extremely narrow.
Well, because you can hit for just a single card though too, right? So I mean,
I don't want to spend that 2 dice to turn off a bad card. That's
sure. I mean, you have to assume that 2 dice to shut off a Frostback Bear seems pretty good.
Only if you do it before they activate Bear.
Sure, yeah, of course.
This card is extremely narrow. It's
sure.
But when it's good, it's good. You're right. I mean, so here's the thing about Frostback Bear, right? Is I'm spending 2 dice to buy myself time. Because you'll bear me next turn. It's not like I'm
yeah, it's just tempo play, right?
But I mean, it was good the turn that you were ready to, like, you could have killed a bunch of my men with Chant, and I got both of them.
Right.
So I think this is a very playable card. I think it's like something that is very meta dependent.
Uh-huh.
I always love to play sleight of hand.
I love sleight of hand. Like if you're playing illusion, I think you have to
I
have sleight of hand.
I thought this was going to be really good, but you never had a dude that was like a giant that I could.
Yeah,
get
I think if
value
you're
out
up against bears, you're up against iron rhinos, you're up against something that's got some meat. Holy knights, like making your own copy of Holy Knight is just fine, right? Like
Yeah, it doesn't get
get
the
the ability,
abilities,
right?
but
But you spend 2 dice for a unit that I spent 3 dice on, so
I
that's
thought this was
value.
going to be really cute. It was like very mediocre. This card I still think is good. Reflections.
I'm still trying to figure out how it would work.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I know when you read it, I understand what it's doing, but I'm just trying to figure out like what is the best case scenario for it, and I haven't been able to put that in my mind. So maybe you can enlighten me in our audience what makes reflections in the water like potentially really solid. Like, what do you think is the best play for that?
I mean, I considered putting it on your ninjas or whatever that
Sure,
turns off their shooter ability.
sure.
I mean, it's good against Owl. Kind of, I guess. If you're planning on not killing it, I guess if you put this on an Owl, that Owl becomes like essentially nothing.
Right.
It's just a 1/2. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, there's the cards like Double Shoot Archer guy. It's like a 4
Yeah,
costing
the
from
double.
Illusion.
Sure, yeah. The double archer. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I looked at that card a couple of times. I couldn't decide if I wanted to try to play those at some point.
That card seems cool, but I feel like I would be like I would look at it and be like, man, I get to ping 2 of his dudes, and I'd realize I could just attack with it for 4,
Right.
and like never do its ability.
And you spend 4 dice to do it, right? Like it seems like it's probably overcosted by 1 die.
I played a Battle Mage just because I wanted an additional man.
I like Battle Mage.
I think she's fine. I played a Call on the Realms to put in my opener because of how expensive we were just talking about how many hearts it takes to like
Right.
swallows and stuff.
Yep.
And it fixes the 1 ceremonial dice
to the size you want for doll.
So I can play a turn 1 doll if I want. Or round 1 doll, not like turn 1.
Right.
So my takeaway from this is like Owls are good and Leo's pretty good. And Hidden Power is good. The rest of this pile, like you could put another. How many cards is that? Like 34,
27.
24 cards.
It'd be 27 because if you said Owls, or you've got 6 cards, so 24 cards. Yeah. Hidden Power and Owls.
After Reborn, that may be different. So you could play a different 24 others and be pretty good because the Glowfinch did seem really powerful to me.
Glowfinch seems really good. At dealing with exactly the kind of deck I was talking about playing, or trying to play. So I think
it's just good, and it's good with the Owls because like I go like play the book, play Glowfinch.
Right.
Next turn I make an Owl, and you normally have a turn to deal with the Owl before I get to make you discard, but the Glowfinch protects it. Like,
right.
The Glowfinch protects it from attack and protects it from like random removal spell.
Right.
So you get to get your value out of the first Owl.
Yep.
And I think that if an Owl ever like you ever untap with an Owl, then you're crushing. And I don't know how to do that really.
Well, there's different ways to remove exhaustion. Like if you can play Owl with Koji. Koji can unexhaust an Owl.
I don't mean like literally play cards to untap it. I just mean like have it survive a round.
Sure.
So you can untap it during your refresh phase. Because once you like they have diminishing returns where like you only have so many times that you could get your opponent with them because they're going to be playing cards, and if they have the Owl in play, they're going to try to play cards to get them out of their hand.
Right.
So like I think 2 is like the magic number. If there's ever a turn where you get to make them discard 3, I feel like you're just annihilating them, just like beating them into the ground.
I agree,
but I don't know how often that will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Owl is tricky, but I think that there's value in it, and so.
Wait, I mean, I do think it's good. I see how it is possible to win. Just don't play the cards that I played.
Yep.